Okay, let's get to this question. This was related to equal access laws. My county in Alabama made the decision to have the first 9 weeks be virtual at the last minute. Students were told they would each receive a Chromebook to use. School starts in 5 days, which is actually tomorrow, the 10th. Our elementary school put out an email that they only have 114 Chromebooks for the entire school. When I asked the principal last night, what I was supposed to do on Monday, she didn't have an answer. Conservatively, that means well more than 70% of the school will not be getting the promised equipment. Can they penalize us as parents for this? More importantly, aside from raising heck in the county superintendent's office, what am I supposed to do for my two children? Any and all advice appreciated. Well, number one, yes, it would be an equal access equal issue, but at the same time, you didn't specify whether one or both of your children have IEPs. Because when I see situations like that, I typically see um, them handed out um, when they don't have enough of these things. What I seem to always get is that they don't get the special education students. There's also an assumption that all parents have this technology, so therefore there's no excuse. But at the same time, if they're supposed to be providing them and they only have so many and they don't have them, how are they handing those out? Who are they handing those out to? And then what are they doing for the remainder of those families that, let's say, don't have the technological capabilities of logging on and participating in the manner in which they're supposed to or required. So yes, it would be a violation at that point. Now, what can you do if your children don't have IEPs? I mean, there there could be a constitutional question there, but at the same time, how are you going to go about it unless you can show that there was corresponding damage? Um, Not that there's not a violation. I'm just sort of thinking out loud with regards to. Um, I mean, it would be an Office of Civil Rights issue on that point, on that part, um, that you could explore. But if your children have, or one of them have an IEP, then at that point, that's where there would be the best opportunity for you to quickly intervene and quickly get this taken care of, not just for one child but for both, even if you only have one that has an IEP. Why is that? Well, because you have rights carved out to be able to assert um, as a IEP team member, but also as sort of the advocate of your child's rights. Then at that point, yeah, you can sort of fast track the complaint, as opposed to if your children didn't have IEPs. Um, Not that there's not a violation there too, but there's just not really a clear mechanism to handle this quickly, because at that point, yes, it potentially could be a federal complaint, but you'd need to have a lawyer that practices in that area. And I mean, not that we don't, but we got our plate full with just the regular violations, and then potentially looking at some class action type of work with regards to this stuff. And the reason we haven't is that the ground has been constantly shifting underneath us, with every school sort of changing how they're opening and what they're doing. So we're having to sort of take a wait and see approach as well on what we're potentially going to be doing in order to safeguard parental rights and the rights of children during this process. If your child does have an IEP, then at that point, we are in Alabama. At that point, just give us a call, shoot me a message, and at that point, I can sit there and you can let me know where you're at, and maybe I know some people over there to make this to where we can even help you fast track it quicker than through, let's say, a complaint process. But that's how you would have to deal with it. At some point, guys, and I said this before, so many of us were patient. The mass majority of us were very, very patient with everything that's been going on. But a lot of this nonsense, as it tracks into the fall, no. But you got to wait until that school day starts, because that's when the violation happens. All right. Anything could happen in between now and the start of the school year, where they could sit there and make alterations and changes to where they are providing the necessary services and equipment. But if that time has passed and you have hit the first day of school and your child doesn't have the equipment they need, your child's not a distant learner, but they've said that they're not going to provide in-person services, and the school year has started, well, at that point, guys, the school's made their decision, and at that point, you need to make yours. And if that is advocating on behalf of your child, then that's what you need to do in order to get this stuff worked out. You don't want to sacrifice another 3 months. You don't want to sacrifice another 4 months. Your child has already been placed behind the proverbial 8 ball by what happened in March. So, I mean, I just don't know what else we can sit there and do to placate and make this better. So many parents, once again, are back to teaching their own children. Why go to public school if that's the case, guys? I mean, you're talking about half of the school year. Many of you are having to go out and get childcare. There's so many things, and I know people go, well, it's not the public the people saying that are educators. Public educators, not, we're not a babysitting service. Guys, nobody ever declared that you were, but the very nature of how our public education apparatus was set up years ago, far before you became a teacher, any of you, was set up in such a way to make it to where parents could work, because that's exactly why the schedules were set up that way. If you think for a New York minute that our children need 7-8 hours of sustained education to make progress, then you need to get out more, because that's just not the case.